So today we'll, for the start, I'll do a small refreshment with regard to with regard to method of payment. Then after that, we'll have a paving to the URC. And before that, if time permits, we'll have a glance on various types of letters of credit. Right. So these are the four methods of payments. Right. Actually, these three should come first. Open account. Consumption base I didn't discuss, but I will give a little bit of a introduction on that. Then the advance payment, document correction, and document credit. So those are the main methods of payment you find in international trade. Right. I'll rush these four quickly as possible. In open account, you get the buyer and the seller obviously, and the buyer is more stronger than the seller in case of an open account. The open account exists whenever the buyer has a big advantage over seller, and the seller should perform by sending the documents across to the buyer and sending the goods across the buyer's country, and the both goods and the documents should consign to buyer. Consign mean all rights to be transferred. Advance payment means where the seller is in this case stronger than the buyer, and the seller needed the money in advance. Now, when you have the term advance, don't get misguided with the customary usage of advance that we talk of. Advance payment in here or advance payment in international trade on the method of payment is the seller expects the payment in advance. That is, the value of the goods has to be repatriated in advance. Right? So, in this method of payment, buyer is supposed to go to his banker and make a request of making the payment, submitting a pro forma invoice, and the bank will repair the monies, that's the value of the goods, and after that the seller will perform. How? By sending the goods to the buyer's country and sending the documents to the buyer himself, and the both documents and the goods has to be consigned again to the buyer. This both open account and advance payment governs by common law. Mainly, if you talk about open account, is at the seller's country's law. If the seller's country's law permits to transact this with another buyer and send the goods out of his country and wait for the payment until the buyer sends it, then open account exists. Advance payment exists or encouraged where the buyer's country's law is permitted, because the monies are sent out of the country by converting your own legacy currency before receiving the goods, and therefore the paying country or the buyer's country's law, in other words, should permit. So the prevailing country's laws will apply for open account and for advance payment. Right. So there are certain other things that you need to know in these open account and advance payment. I think I have discussed, and those things have to be studied very carefully. and try to understand accordingly. Consignment basis means, I'll give a small example. Say there's an exporter who is in Japan, and there's a distributor in Sri Lanka, and the goods will come to the distributor first. But the seller is not being paid unless the distributor has sold all the receipts of goods to buyers. So this distributor is not a buyer. In other words, he's a bulk buyer. But he will not settle the exporter unless the goods are being sold in full. With a little correction, if I say again, the seller will get settled the way that the goods being sold by the distributor. In the remaining stuff, where the distributor is not able to sell, and those stuff become stale, time-wise, temperature-wise, or demand-wise, then the goods will be returned back to the seller. If you take a real dimension of doing domestic trade, this type of consignment base happens in many places. The lottery seller, then the newspaper seller. When you take a newspaper seller, the ANCL or the Vijay newspapers bring along the bulk of newspapers early in the morning and drop some stacks of newspapers in the kiosk or in the boutiques of papers and request him to sell. So he will settle in the evening on the following day as agreed, only for the only for the manuals or the papers that he has sold. So it's under consignment basis. So the mainly the consignment basis applies for periodicals and journals. Right. So we discuss about documentary collection. So documentary collection is somewhat complex compared to open account and advance payment. In documentary collection, the buyer is known as the drawee, and the seller is known as the principal. You have to remember this terminology very well. If you apply the wrong term without structuring the answer, you will not get sufficient marks, right? So buyer is the drawee and the seller is the principal. In this mechanism, the contract of sale that is in between the drawee and the principal has been agreed upon to transact trade in documentary collection. If it is on a documentary collection, opinions on the rules and the guides has to be taken from the URC 522. I have given you the handout on the URC 522 on a previous occasion. Keep it very carefully, don't share that because it's abstract, what you call the extract that I have taken from the ICC publication. So the 1995 revision and Uniform Rules for Collection 522 is the number. So there are 26 rules, we need to discuss those. And those rules applies for the mechanism of the documentary collection. And in here, the principal has to submit the goods, principal has to submit the documents. Unlike in the open account and what you call the advance payment, in documentary collection, the principal has to submit the documents with the shipping documents to his banker, which is called the remitting bank. Remitting bank. remitting bank will forward the documents to a bank in drawbee's facility, which is called the collecting bank. So the remitting bank will forward the documents plus another very important document in this mechanism is called the collection instruction. Collection instruction. So document this collection instructions means it's more than a covering letter or a covering schedule accompany the documents, enclose the documents. In this collection instruction, the remitting bank will tell the subsequent banks how to handle documents, not a mere covering letter of a enclosure of documents. Remitting bank will tell how to handle the documents. That is why it's called the collection instruction. And then the collecting bank will try to deliver the documents to drawee. If the collecting bank is unable to deliver the way that the remitting bank has expected him to do so, because of job situation, they are farther away, then the collecting bank will seek on their own accord in close proximity of a bank to the drawee's area, and that bank is called the presenting bank. Presenting bank. And this presenting bank will deliver the documents to the drawee. So, presenting bank is the bank which delivers the documents to the drawee. If the collecting bank was able to deliver the documents to the drawee, then collecting bank becomes the presenting bank, in other words. Otherwise, it will forward the documents to another bank in close proximity of the drawee, and such bank will be requested to deliver the documents to drawee. Such delivery, we discuss, it could be either by DP or by DA. So we had a lengthy discussion with regard to DP and DA. I'll give a little bit of a nutshell on that. DP means it's a site. If the drafts are called for, it's not a must to call for a draft. If you're asking for a draft, you means the buyer, then such draft has to be signed. In case of a DA, that is documents against acceptance, the previous one was documents against payment, and if it is the DA, calling for a draft by a buyer becomes a must. And if that's the case, this draft has to be an user's draft. User's draft, or you call that as a tenor draft. Tenor draft. So when there's a user's draft, that means there's a maturity date being inbuilt in the draft. I have given a specimen of the bill of exchange where the user draft is concerned. I hope that you have gone through that. Then you will see it says 9 days from the away bill or 9 days from the bill of lading date, because you can determine the maturity date from the instrument itself. What is the instrument? The financial instrument. In this case, was the financial instrument that we needed? The bill of exchange. So, in case of a DA, bill of exchange is a must. Bill of exchange is meant for a maturity. So, what the presenting bank will do on the receipt of a DA bill, the presenting bank will detach the bill of exchange and request the drawee to accept the bill of exchange. And once the bill of exchange is accepted by the drawee, presenting bank will retain the accepted bill of exchange and release the rest of the documents for the drawee to clear the consignment, no payment. Once the bill of exchange been accepted by the drawee is responsible or liable to pay at maturity. So when the due date dawns, drawee is expected to settle the presenting bank. On the due date, I mean the maturity of the draft, if the drawee doesn't show up, then the presenting bank is not liable to the purchasing banks. Remember very well, if when the draft is accepted by the presenting bank, drawee is liable to pay. Drawee is liable to pay. To whom? To seller. I mean to the beneficiary, to the principal. Right? So they are retaining means they are keeping the draft, except the bill of exchange, and releasing the documents, expecting him to pay. If he doesn't pay on maturity, or if he doesn't make any arrangements to pay, make the payment, or he doesn't show up at all, then presenting bank will notify the crediting bank if they are selling, and the remitting bank saying that the bill remains unpaid. Beyond that, the presenting bank is not liable. Then what action the remitting bank will take, therefore, we will discuss when we discuss the Article 26 in URC. Right. So we are freezing in the document correction. So in other words, we are not finished the document correction. We have a lot of things to discuss with regard to URC. Right. Within the scope of the parties, that is the drawee, principal, remitting bank, crediting bank, presenting bank, we have plenty of rules, right? Made it very uniformity, which is called the URC 522. We will discuss carefully and try to understand the concept of URC. Right. So that's the method of payment of URC or the documentary collection. The documentary credit is somewhat more complex than the documentary collection. Here the buyer is known as the applicant and the seller is known as the beneficiary. In this case, beneficiary has to perform to the letter of credit that applicant has issued to his banker. How? Applicant will go to his banker and request that bank to issue a letter of credit favoring the beneficiary. In layman terms, a letter of credit means a guarantee given to the beneficiary. Right. That's a very late words of defining a letter of credit. So the applicant goes to his banker and requests the bank to establish a letter of credit on his behalf, favoring beneficiary. So this bank, the applicant bank, is known as the issuing bank. Issuing bank. Because this is the bank who issues or opens the letter of credit. So this letter of credit be issued under SWIFT format. So therefore, they cannot issue the letter of credit straight away to the beneficiary. So they will send the LC of theirs under format of MT700. This is the SWIFT format. MT stands for message type. And this letter of credit will be transmitted to a bank where the beneficiary is domiciled. This bank is called the advising bank. Advising bank is a bank will not take any kind of engagement to the MT700. It's merely a courier. It's just a postman, right? And yes. Right. Okay. Right. If it is not very clear in the what I am writing in the banking book, just make a comment so that I can change the pen. Right? Right. So issuing bank issues a letter of credit. Right. To the advising bank. Advising bank doesn't take any kind of an engagement of the MT700. In other words, it doesn't take any responsibility whatsoever, except for two responsibilities that we are going to discuss when we do the UCP. And it advises the letter of credit on receipt of their charges, obviously, to the beneficiary. Now, the beneficiary will have the original LC, which is sent by the issuing bank. The LC becomes the integral part between the issuing bank and the beneficiary. Applicant goes out of the picture. So, in other words, applicant is not a contractual party to a letter of credit. Right. Now, here, since you are bankers, you should know that you will have a little bit of an idea. Therefore, the beneficiary is not worried about the credit worthiness of the applicant in case of a documented credit. They can fall back to the issuing bank. Right. So the advising bank has already forwarded or submitted the beneficiary the original LC. Now the beneficiary duty is to perform according to the letter of credit. In the letter of credit, I have given you the assessment of the letter of credit also this time. Just go through. Don't remember or memorize anything. Just have a glance because most of the students have not seen a letter of credit even. So I have given a specimen of a letter of credit. Right. So the beneficiary will try to perform according to the letter of credit. And in letter of credit, there are lots of terms and conditions, and a lot of documents will be required under different fields. So he has to make sure that all the documents being required by the issuing bank on behalf of the applicant has to be fulfilled, and with the terms and conditions stated in the letter of credit has to be complied. So once the documents are ready, he will forward the documents to his bank. That bank is called the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank. Negotiating bank. If the advising bank is the beneficiary's bank, he can forward the documents to the advising bank. Then the advising bank at that junction becomes the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank will check the documents thoroughly. Right? For that matter, they have 5 banking days for the day of receipt of presentation. That we will discuss when we discuss about Article 14 of UCP 600. So, once if the documents are in order or compliant, you say, then the beneficiary will get paid. So that is called negotiation. So how they are paying out of their own pocket or under reserve, you call it. Right? Now see, documents are in the beneficiary's country, goods are just on voyage, it's in the mid-sea, but the beneficiary is getting paid. And the negotiating bank after that will forward the documents under courier to issuing bank. The documents are being negotiated, supported with their covering letter. They will say the documents have negotiated for so much of value, and they will send the documents to the issuing bank. Issuing bank will check again the documents, and for that they have 7 banking days as the negotiating bank. So once they confirm the documents are in order, they will reimburse the negotiating bank. How they are reimbursing, we will discuss later. It's a bit of a complicated process that we will discuss later. They will reimburse. Reimburse the value of the document. If the documents are not in order, the negotiating bank has oversighted the not seen a discrepancy, where the issuing bank has seen the discrepancy, and the such discrepancy is what you call a major discrepancy according to the applicant, they will reject the payment. Or in other words, they will reject the documents. So, therefore, negotiating bank will have a risk in there. After negotiating, there could be a tendency that the issuing bank will not pay. For many reasons. By the time the documents reach the issuing bank, if the issuing bank has gone down, meaning they have gone insolvent, liquidated, busted, then they will not get the payment. These monies cannot be taken from the applicant because the applicant is not a contractual party to the letter of credit. Buyer's risk being completely eliminated in case of a documented credit. It's on the issuing bank's risk. That is why you get a payment guarantee to the beneficiary. So this is one of the strongest instruments you find to the beneficiary, not the most advantageous, but it's guaranteed the payment will come, provided that he will prepare the proper documents. Right. So, since there's a risk of receipt of payment by the issuing bank, negotiating bank, when negotiating documents, when the documents be submitted, they always take a letter of indemnity from the beneficiary. So therefore, when they negotiate, that negotiation will be with recourse. With recourse. With recourse means if they won't get the payment, they can fall back to the beneficiary. Right? That is supported in the letter of indemnity. Right. So that is the overview of a simple cycle of a documented credit. Right. Now I have given you a handout. So various types or special forms of letters of credit. Types of letter of credit, right? Fish out that handout near you. There are, you can just read and understand also sometimes, but then I will try to explain some types which I feel that's important for you all to know. Confirmed letter of credit. Confirmed letter of credit. Confirmed. C-O-N-F-I-R-M-E-D. Confirmed letter of credit. Confirmed letter of, here the word confirmation gives a little bit of peculiar meaning only for UCP purpose. Right. So we will study in detail when we discuss in Article 8 of UCP 600. Confirmation means, I'll put in a grid and show you. You get the applicant here, which is the buyer, known as the applicant in case of documented credit, and you get the seller here, which is known as the beneficiary. Known as the beneficiary. The applicant here and the beneficiary. Right? Then what do? Applicant goes to his banker, which is the issuing bank, and the requester request the banker to issue a letter of credit. So this bank will issue a letter of credit via advising bank. That part I've told you. And also I told you, advising bank has no role whatsoever in case of a documented credit cycle. So that is going to be changed in case of confirmed letter of credit. So these are the four parties you find in here, not contractual party. For the grid's sake, these are the four parties that I have done. Applicant is not in the contractual list of parties anyway. So at the request of the applicant, on behalf of the applicant, issuing bank has established a letter of credit or issued a letter of credit or executed a letter of credit under its format of MT 700 via advising bank, and the advising bank has submitted the original receipt to the beneficiary after receipt of the advising bank charges. So this is the normal typical letter of credit cycle. Now in this case, the beneficiary is not worried whether applicant has paid the issuing bank or not. Issuing bank has to pay if the documents are complied, even though the applicant doesn't pay. that is some difference between the DA and this method of payment. In DA, when the bill of exchange matures, the buyer is supposed to pay. If the buyer doesn't pay, President Bank also will not pay. They will just notify. But in this case, in a documented credit, if the applicant doesn't pay, issuing bank has to pay. Because it's undertaken given by the issuing bank to the beneficiary, not by the applicant to the beneficiary. So therefore, in this letter of credit, applicant risk being taken off. That is credit worthiness of the applicant being taken off. It's the issuing bank risk. There are certain beneficiaries or beneficiary countries, depending on the applicant and the applicant country status, because of the political instability, volatility, and because of natural disasters, and mainly because of the political situation. They don't care that much issuing bank guarantee also as well. Because the issuing bank guarantee is worthless sometimes for certain countries. So therefore, when she says, I did the LC, all right, by doing that, I have taken your risk off. But this issuing bank that you are getting the LC to be, is not a quoted bank. I don't know that bank that much. We have never done business with that bank. It's a small unit of your country. It's not one of your state banks or not a big private bank or whatever it is. Without any discrimination, I'm saying that, right? So therefore, I need this particular LC to be guaranteed by another bank, a famous bank, a bank in New York or bank in London. So he will nominate a bank and request the applicant, tell your banker to get the LC confirmed by the nominated bank. Now the confirming bank come into what you call into the play, right? So therefore, when the confirmation being added to this particular letter of credit, beneficiary will logically get two guarantees. It's a double guarantee. What is one guarantee? Is the issuing bank's responsibility, right? Because if the applicant doesn't pay, issuing bank has to pay. So he has a comfort in there. But if the issuing bank doesn't pay, the confirming bank will pay. So he has a double guarantee now. So therefore, in case of a confirmed letter of credit, when the issuing bank sends the LC to the advising bank, this advising bank has to be the confirming bank. So therefore, this is not merely an advising bank, but a confirming bank also as well. The rest of things are same, but there's a small difference. In earlier case, it's an unconfirmed LC. The advising bank acts as a postman. He's not worried about the terms and conditions whatsoever being written by the issuing bank. He just advised the letter of credit as it is to the beneficiary. But if the advising bank is a confirming bank also, that means he has engaged to the letter of credit. So he's taken the responsibilities of the issuing bank. If the issuing bank doesn't pay, he has to pay. So there's a huge responsibility. So therefore, when he negotiates documents, with submission of documents, he has to negotiate now. When he negotiates, he has to negotiate without recourse. Without recourse. There's another word for this, sans recourse. Sans recourse. Sans recourse. So without recourse, right? So if I give a further expression on that, we'll discuss that in Article 8, right? But give a little bit of a hint on that. So once the documents are negotiated without recourse by the confirming bank to the beneficiary, documents will be couriered to the issuing bank for their approval and the reimbursement. And if the issuing bank has found That there are discrepancies in the document where the confirming bank has overlooked or the issued bank has gone down, then the money will not reimbursed. So unlike in the unconfirmed letter of credit, the confirming bank will not be able to fall back to the beneficiary because at the time of negotiation documents they have done without recourse. Right? So they don't have option of negotiate documents with recourse. They can't take a profit empty in the case of a confirming bank. Right? So when they negotiate, they have to negotiate without recourse. That is stated in Article 8. Right. Don't take it down. Articles and all, don't take it down because not you send the UCP to you all yet. So once we do the UCP slowly, then you will understand what I said a couple of sessions before. Right. Red clause LC. Red clause LC. Despite the handout that you have, just take a small wording that will be in very layman terms, we'll understand. I hope that you have a notebook and a, what you call some writing material with you. I'll take it down now. An advance payment incorporated in a letter of credit. An advance payment incorporated in the letter of credit is a red clause LC. It's a red clause LC. Right. We'll take an example. Say the LC value is $10,000. Say the LC value is $10,000. Now, when I say LC value means the issue bank has issued a letter of credit for $10,000 favoring a beneficiary. That's what it states. Right. And in here, the seller, that is the beneficiary, right? Seller has had asked from the buyer initially, that is before opening the letter of credit, if the contractor said he must have had said, to perform to your letter of credit, I need to have some capital. I can't go to a bank and ask for pre-shipment facilities because up to the brim I have gone and there's no leeway that I can push the bank through and get the facility. So therefore, we say this is 100,000, not 10,000, 100,000. So therefore, why don't you open a red clause LC? So from the LC itself, I can draw an advance, right? So the buyer agrees there. Buyer tells the same thing to the issue bank, that is to his banker. Then they will open a letter of credit, but it's a process. That's a small condition that has to be stated. So, what is that condition? The condition is this. Similar expressions, huh? It will say, on receipt of this LC, on receipt of this LC, pay 10%, on LC value. Right? The cost similar like this. The percent term could be varied. They say on receipt of this LC, pay 10% on receipt, 10% on the LC value. That means LC value is 100,000, pay 10% means 10,000 to be paid to the beneficiary. Now, to whom this instruction being given? To the mere advising bank, because to them only this LC being sent. Advising. So this instruction being given to the advising bank. So the advising bank, now the issuing bank cannot push the advising bank to do that, right? Advising bank on using their discretion, they can advance the 10% of the LC value to the beneficiary. Now it's the beneficiary. So he can use that 10,000 for his infrastructure or packing purposes, or as a pre-shipment facility, so that he can go to his banker and get the facility. Understand? Right. So when the 10% is being paid, another 90% has to be paid by the issuing bank. Right. So once the documents are submitted, now he has the 10% there. So he will perform, he will give the documents for 100,000. 100,000. Documents will be given for value 100,000 by the beneficiary. So the advising bank will become the negotiating bank now. Negotiating bank. So where were we? The AC being open, a red clause AC. It is an advance payment incorporated in the letter of credit. On which of AC, pay 10%. It's an advance payment. So advising bank will use their discretion obviously and pay the 10% to the beneficiary, but the beneficiary performs, the document will be forwarded to the advising bank. They can't forward the documents to any other bank here. They have to forward the documents in here. So 10% being paid and 90% to be paid. So they will pay the 90% and courier the documents to the issuing bank. Courier the documents to the issuing bank. The issuing bank will reimburse them, the advising bank. So what you need to take concern is this. This is the disadvantage or risk of the red clause LC. That is, once they pay the 10%, according to this example, if the beneficiary doesn't perform, once they pay the 10%, subsequently beneficiary ought to perform. And if the beneficiary doesn't perform, or beneficiary will perform, but try to get negotiated from elsewhere. In either cases, the advising bank will not get the document. So therefore, the 10% what they have paid to the beneficiary will go unrecoverable. So if that situation arises, they can claim the 10% what they have paid an advance payment because of the request by the issuing bank with good value. What is good value? Good value means 10% they have paid, and for some period they have a lack of funds, and therefore they will claim interest also from the issuing bank. So that's what you call good value. Good value. Right. Red cross LCs are two kinds. Conditional and unconditional. Right. Now, this part I have not tested yet. For red cross LCs normal mechanism, I saw one or two questions being put in the past papers. But this area, the conditional and unconditional one, is going little deep into red clause, still not given a question. So therefore, it's worth of knowing and studying. Right. So there are two types of red clause: conditional red clauses and the unconditional red clause. Unconditional red clauses means example that I had took it, because they are asking just a mere simple receipt evidencing that the 10% been paid. On receipt of this LC, pay 10%. After paying 10%, they have to submit a document to the chief bank, and that's a simple receipt evidencing that they have paid. Right? Unconditional. But there are certain advising banks, these beneficiaries are the mutual customers, and fearing that they might go and negotiate with another bank, they will have a grip over the customer. And they will take collateral against security and compel them to negotiate it themselves itself. Otherwise, they will not pay that 10%. It's a conditional red clause. In good old days, this particular special clause been printed in red. That's why it's called red clause AC, right? Now we won't print it red, it's on the Swift format, but the special form of the letter of credit is still called as red clause LC. Another one more letter of credit I will discuss. Revolving letter of credit must be in the handout. Revolving credits are two kinds. An LC could be revolved against time of a value. Revolving means you get a higher point, then you get a low point, and there's a circle. So LC inflates, and according to the time left, it depletes. Again, it rises, right? So it revolves. So that revolving could take place by time or by value. If it is revolving by time, then it has to be checked whether it's cumulative or whether it's non-cumulative. I'll explain. Right? Good if you can take it down this, because reading the note, you will not be able to catch up that quickly. Revolving LC are two kinds: time and value. According to time can revolve, according to value can revolve. Value means according to usage. If it is by time, then we have to, the question comes whether it is cumulative or non-cumulative. It's like this. Say there's a shipment schedule. January there's a shipment, February there's a shipment, we'll take in same quantity on same consignment, and March there's a shipment, and April there's a shipment. 1 metric ton for $10,000 has to be shipped. 1 metric ton worth of $10,000 has to be shipped in January, as so as in February, March, and April. So this, what you call this beneficiary will open a revolving letter of credit for $10,000. For January, February, March, April. That means $40,000 he has to open. If the contract sales agreement says there are 4 shipments or similar consignments, so he has to obviously open for $40,000. Yes. So, but only January he will get only 10,000. So opening a letter of credit, earmarking his capital for $40,000 goes in vain or in waste, because he is going to get only $10,000 for work. And next February he is going to get another 10,000, but he has blocked his capital for $40,000, not as a margin, but as collateral. Other or is now the 40,000 is out. Is that's so. Or is he can open 4 LCs for $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000. Opening LC is a very expensive affair. Right? The Swift charges are very high, ranges to $23 to $25. So therefore, bank will suggest, why don't you open a revolving letter of credit? So the LC value is only $14,000. But we put a special clause in the LC saying that, I hope that you can see the special clause if I write in here. Special clause, like in the red clause. This is a revolving LC. This is a revolving LC. This is a revolving LC, RVLC. This is a revolving LC. Cumulative. Cumulative. When you say cumulative, you needn't mention that it be revolved against time. If it is cumulative or non-cumulative, that has been revolved according to time. Right. This is a revolving LC, cumulative. But cumulative for how many months? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 months. So that's how it works. 10,000 into 4 is 40,000. Right? So your opening LC only for 10,000. At the end of January, LC outstanding becomes nil, and in the middle of February, it restated automatically, provided your computer system is geared for that, for 10,000 again. So $10,000 was there, it depleted and resurrected again for $10,000 again. So revolves 4 times. So when you say cumulative, if the seller misses one shipment in February, and if the sales, what you call the LC sales is cumulative, then he can add this shipment to the March one and send $20,000 worth of shipment. In other words, 2 metric tons could be sent. But if the buyer says no cumulative because I don't have a storing issue, I will not have a storage space for that, then if the February be missed, he can't think of submitting that document or the goods in March. So February missed. Then January, March, April. That is if the LC says non-cumulative. Right. So that's what you call revolving LC, according to time. According to value is slightly obsolete, but then I will explain what is according to value. If the LC says it's a revolving LC, revolves according to value, that means, remember, every LC has a expiry date, a validity date, right? In your specimen also, if you see on the top, on the most top, it says date and place of expiry, right? So we should note where the LC expires and when the LC gets expired. So if the revolving LC says this revolves according to value or usage or value, that means basically can, if we'll say the value of the LC is $10,000, Beneficiary can send consignments on irregular basis without a concern for different values, right? So he can forward the document for $10,000 or $1 each for 10,000 times, right? Provided the LC is not invalidated. During the period within validity, he can forward many documents. He can forward many shipments. Why it's not popular? Therefore, is obviously, at any given time you can't assess the applicant's exposure or the issuing bank's exposure cannot be assessed. Right. Then I'm leaving out the back-to-back letters of credit and the transferable letter of credit that we will discuss at the end of UCP. Those are the most complicated, most complex special forms of letter of credit called the back-to-back and the transferable letter of credit. And standby letter of credit also I will discuss at that time. I'll give a little bit of a nutshell with regard to standby letter of credit. Just a small idea. All special forms of letter of credit which I have written here. This is the handout I think I have given to you all. And from textbooks you can find some more more special forms of letters of credit, which is not necessary. All letters of credit activates on performance. Performance by who? By the beneficiary. Performance. The only letter of credit activates on non-performance is the standby letter of credit. The standby letter of credit. So the standby letter of credit, I will give a little bit of hint on standby letter of credit. Standby letter of credit, SBLC, standby until the applicant, not beneficiary, applicant non-performs. We'll take a small example. Open account. You know what an open account is now. Open account trading, you know. Right. Now, they have contracted, the buyer, the seller already contracted for $1 million LC. We'll say with you. $1 million LC, not $1 million LC, $1 million transaction. So the seller has sent the documents for $1 million. $1 million. And he has sent the goods worth of $1 million. So however much the buyer is stronger than the seller, 1 million is huge. 1 million is huge. So therefore, seller will say to the buyer, I will send the goods under open account trading method. Why don't you open a standby letter of credit in favor of me? In case of a default, I can claim from your banker. So the buyer unwillingly goes to his banker and requests to open a standby letter of credit based on this open account transaction, favoring the seller. Now the seller has a good instrument in his hand, a standby letter of credit. This LC will stand by until the applicant defaults. Otherwise, he's sleeping, suspended. When the applicant doesn't pay, then the seller will claim from the bank, not from the buyer. Right? So standby letter of credit is mainly open based on a pre-arranged activity. In this case, the open account trading also pre-arranged activity. So they will claim from the standby letter of credit when the applicant doesn't perform. Right. So at the next session, we'll start with the URC articles. And please do read and come the articles 1 to 7. 1 to 7. Read the articles 1 to 7. Don't memorize. Don't try to put a lot of effort to understand the article. Just read and come. Because I admit the fact those articles are written in English all right, but in article form. So therefore, it's a bit complicated to understand. And one more thing, articles are not being read actually. That has to be analyzed. And the article 2 doesn't come after article 1. There's no chain effect in there. So therefore, just plainly read and come the article 1 to 7, the introduction, the definitions, parts to collection, then the credit versus contract, Likewise, you get 5, 6, 7. 7 is the list of documents. Just read and come the articles, and we will touch the URC in the next session. Right. Now, the next 1 hour is shift to the Forex. I hope that most of the students in the forum was with me last time for the session, and even for the people who joined today, they have not gone to a big miss because I will do a little bit of session also. But only thing from today onwards, for every session, you may have to come or some other get hold of the recording of activities, because it's very important. If you miss a session, it's extremely difficult to catch up, right? So I think I have given you a small handout which you got Forex, certain basic terminology, what is a code, direct code and indirect code, cross currency and kind of things I have given. So I will rush that quickly as possible so that it will be easy for me to make a paving to the next session. So be with me for another 1 hour for the Forex, and if there's a difficulty of understanding, because I'll be giving a little bit of arithmetical the what you call not formulas, some concepts. If you do not understand, need to this thing quickly make a nudge on the chat box. I will interested. 5. In the foreign currency, I said there are 3 exposures. This will be classified as transaction, translation, and economic. In forex transactions, there are mainly 3 exposures. Could be classified into transaction, translation, and economic. You have a handout, right? I hope that you have gone through that. But I will just simplify. But I'm rushing, huh? Transaction exposure. Right, that's a silly mistake there. Transaction exposure means in the transaction itself there's an exposure. We'll take a quick example. Say the exporter quotes his product, that is $1,000 at the rate of 150 per piece. And in that quote, the buyer confirms. There are 50 numbers. Buyer confirms. He is satisfied with the unit price of 150. This happened, what you call this negotiation happened on day 1. On day 1, we'll assume that the buyer is in Sri Lanka and the beneficiary or the seller is in Japan. On day 1, JBY to LKR JPY to LKR, we'll say 2 rupees, LKR 2 rupees. That's an example, right? So, since he has confirmed the order, beneficiary or the seller will send the goods to the buyer and send the documents to the buyer. Don't worry about the method of payment. I'm just taking just a linear example only. So on day 25, on the 25th day, the buyer will receive the payment, rather documents for payment. So documents value for $1,000 for 50 numbers of pieces. On the 25th day, his banker says, JPY to LKR is not 2 rupees, but has shot up to 250. Shot up to 250. Now what has happened is, he's losing 50 cents for every dollar here because of the devaluation of the LKR within the base of 25 days. Couldn't help it anything, and it's not the fault of the what you call the seller or the exporter also. And what is the exposure? It's a risk. In the transaction itself, there's a risk in there. So therefore, it is that kind of risks are called transaction risk. Right. Translation risk. We'll take a big company where they have a subsidiary in another country also as well. So we'll take the parent companies in Sri Lanka and the subsidiaries in Bangladesh, in Bangkok. Right? So this company will have a company. Here you have the A company, Dhaka. So these people will have the profit and loss account and the balance sheet in LKR. This was an export company. They are receiving in dollars, and the balance sheet has to be shown in rupees. That's why I said LKR. Otherwise, the receipt of funds in dollars. Bangladesh was an export-oriented company. It's a fully owned subsidiary of a company in Sri Lanka, and they are in receipt of dollars, and the dollars have got converted into Bangladesh takas, that is BDT, and shown in the balance sheet. Now remember, it goes without saying, dollars have got converted into rupees in here. Dollars have got converted into takas in here. At the end of the fiscal year, that's the Sri Lankan government or the central bank regulation. If you have a subsidiary in other country, those profits has to be consolidated and converted into legacy currency. So the Bangladesh takas has to be reconverted back to LKR and shown in here. So I would say here LKR plus BDT converted. Now see, now we'll take a little bit of a hypothesis here. We'll say USD to LKR is 200 in here. And we'll take in here USD to BD, that is Bangladesh takas, is 180. If this is the fact, that means Bangladesh takas is more stronger than the LKR. And therefore, when they convert Takas into Sri Lanka rupees, you get 4 rupees. And you get a, a big revaluation profit because of your own subsidiary. If the Bangladesh Takas is 250 compared to 200 in LKR, that means Bangladesh is more depreciating against LKR compared with dollars. So when they convert back to LKR here, because of the central bank regulation, they are showing lesser profit. So there's an exposure when you have when you are meant to concentrate your assets and liabilities from your own subsidiaries from elsewhere. And that is why called as a translation exposure. What you translate? All the assets and liabilities. Economic exposure. Right. I will take the two countries again, China, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. We'll take a company called A company here, and we take B company. They don't have relationship between A and B. There are no subsidiary business here. But I'm just taking, assuming there's only two countries and only two, countries and two companies are doing the same business. A company has a 5-story building in Sri Lanka. 5-story building. They are importing we'll say some items, some say plates, say Chinaware from France. Chinaware from France. So France may have quoted what you call the unit price for the A companies in Sri Lanka, and they have kept on purchasing from them or importing from them. Bangladesh, this B company does the same piece of Chinaware, imported from where? From France. This B company also has a 5-story building. So they also have the same amount of demand from France like the Sri Lankan guy. So we put some figures here, hypothetical figures. We say X number of Chinaware being imported from France at the rate of Y unit price. The B company also import X number of Chinaware from France at the rate of Y. Now this is the situation. Both have 5-story building. All of a sudden, after a couple of years' time, A company want to go for a skyscraper. The 5-story building has been ended up with 30-story building. So in the vicinity, they are the giant now. For that, they have, we'll just assume that they have expended 6 billion rupees. 6 billion rupees. Now, for the same megostic levels, if the Bangladesh B company want to go for a skyscraper and keep it in spa in the region, and they also went for 30-story building. 30-story building. And see, they have expended only 5.9 billion of takas. I am not taking a parity between US, takas and rupees for the moment, right? I am just taking rupees 6 billion and 5.9 of takas only. Now, because of this toll of 6 billion that they have expended, They are provisionalized for a couple of years from their P&L account, and therefore they can't afford to buy the X number of China ware from France until for about 10 or 15 years. So they will go for a reduced amount of a quantity. We'll say X dash. French followers was good enough, they so gave the same unit price. Fine. Bangladesh also went for the Skypay for 30 story, and they have expended 5.9 million of takas, and therefore they also can't go for the same number of X now, and they have gone for a lesser amount of quantity, not the same quantity as this, but the lesser quantity. We price by. Now see the picture here. If the takas is more stronger than the rupees, this X double dash is higher than X dash. On the first instant, if you do not understand, doesn't matter, just apply it to your see. If the takas are more stronger than rupees, stronger means you are comparing with US dollars parity. Stronger, that means S double dash is greater than X dash. So therefore, in the long run, Bangladesh, this B company, will be able to woo or charm the French fellows and say, we are buying more China ware than the A company in Sri Lanka. So therefore, why don't you give us a better rate than the A company? They might agree. So after a very long time, these people will lose the agency. They have to diversify. Economic exposure due to infrastructure. Right. So I've taken a direct quote. Oh, you remember this is a direct quote, right? If the USD is placed on the left hand side of the oblique, it's called a direct quote. It's a thumb rule. Right. So this is a direct quote. Usually the quote is quoted in two ways. Two ways. Fictitious quotes, huh? Two ways. Left side of the oblique is called the bid, and the other side is called the offer. So bid is the buying, and the offer is the selling rate. Right? So for me to easy to calculate and explain, I took another fictitious code instead of these odd decimal figures. Usually the codes are given for 4 decimal basis points. I took case 2 to 4. So 2 is the bid and the 4 is the offer in US to 12 care. So therefore the spread is equivalent to, take the modulus figure, not the algebraic figure but the modulus figure. 4 is higher than 2. 4 is higher than 2. 4 is offer. 2 is bid. So I will say offer minus bid. Offer minus bid. So therefore, to increase the spread, to have the highest spread, in other words, you have to have the highest offer and the least bid. Least bid. And we came to a conclusion, therefore, in case of a direct quote, you always sell high and buy low. So we came to a conclusion, buy low, sell high. Buy low, sell high. You have to buy a orange for 5 rupees to make 100% of profit percentage at 10 rupees. You have to buy an orange 5 rupees and to sell at 10 rupees to make 100% profit. 100% profit percentage. That is, you have to sell higher than the buying rate in the case of a direct quote. Right. That is understandable, and without saying all, it goes like that. Fine. To make you all to think slightly differently, I will take the parity of USD to LKR. Parity means the ratio is 100. I write it in a different way. This oblique is, you can take that as a division, right? So that means USD over LKR is 100, right? So what if you cross multiply this? 1 US dollar is equivalent to 100 times of LKR. Right? So if you subject the 1 unit of rupee, therefore 1 unit of LKR is equivalent to 1 upon 100 of USD. That part is understood, everybody? Right. Now you divide by both sides by USD. LKR to USD is equal to 1 upon 100. In a direct quote, USD to LKR is 100. LKR to USD is a direct quote because the US dollar is placed on the right hand side of the oblique. But this is a fictitious quote. You don't have a quote like LKR to USD, right? For me to explain to purposes only, I put this fictitious sum so that you will understand the fundamental concept properly. So if the USD to LKR is 100, LKR to USD is 1 upon 100. Medical. LKR to USD is 1 upon 100. Right? I'll tell again. If the USD LKR is 100, if the LKR is 100, if you take the reciprocal level of this, it becomes LKR to USD 1 upon 100. Very straightforward. Right? Why I do these steps is, for the next argument, I need those steps. And for you to understand, if this is a direct code, this is an indirect code. Then you will see the same figure has been inverted. Right. Now we have that knowledge, right? So I will take a direct code, USD 12KR as 2 to 4, like the earlier one, 2 to 4. So this is your bid and this is your offer. You miss the bank. Huh? Always this type of sums are being read and understood and taught in the perspective of the bank. When I say my buying rate is so much, that means I'm the bank. Bank's buying at that price. Right. So bid is 2 rupees means the bank buys at 2 rupees and sells at 4 rupees. Not the customer. Right. Now this is the direct quote. So to make the direct quote to inverted, what you call an indirect quote, what I have to do is LKR to USD. You remember 100 became 1 upon 100? Right. Then 2 becomes 1 upon 2, therefore 1 becomes 1 upon 4. Now this is an indirect quote. Direct quote is 2 to 4. Indirect quote is 1 upon 2 and 1 upon 4. So that means 1 upon 2 means 0.5. 1 upon 4 means half of 0.5, that is 0.25. So when the direct quote is USD to LKR is 2 to 4, indirect quote gives as if it's 0.5 to 0.25. And remember, students, there's one more thing, a doctrine that you need to remember. In a quote, irrespective of the fact that the quote is direct or indirect, always right hand side of the always right hand side figure, right hand side figure has to be more than the left hand side figure. If I say it correctly, left hand side figure should be always less than the right hand side figure. This has to be remembered very thoroughly. Whatever the quote is, whether it's a direct quote or an indirect quote, always the left hand side figure is figure wise, less than the right hand side figure. To satisfy this doctrine, keeping a quote as it is wrong, because 0.5 is higher than 0.25. So therefore, to keep the quote displayed, you have to put the 0.25 here and 0.5 to this side. When I try to satisfy this, what has happened now? Up to this point, it was the offer. Up to this point, it was the bid. When I put the 0.5 in here, I have put the bid to this side. So this is bid now, and this is offer. Understood? Right. Now what is the spread? Take the continuous figure, not the algebraic figure. IFX is 0.5. SFX is 0.25. What is high is the bid. What is less is the offer. So you take the bid minus offer. Bid minus offer. To have the highest spread. Therefore, we need to have the highest bid and least offer. Because there is a leading equation. When the bid is raised and the offer is lowered, difference between these two widens. That's why I said to have the highest spread. So what is the conclusion in this case that you are going to take it? Conclusion? In the case of an indirect quote, you always sell low and buy high. So I would say here, buy high and sell low. So those concepts have to be remembered very carefully. Until again, a direct quote, you always buy low and sell high. In an indirect quote, you always sell low and buy high. Understood thoroughly? I appreciate if one or two people here just make a thumbs up that you can understand. If there's a gray area, just tell me. I have time to explain a little bit by simplifying further. This is the complex concepts of this topsy-turving or inverting the bid and the offer. Just give me a feedback, one or two people here. I'll give a couple of seconds. Understood, thank you. Right. Anybody else did not understand properly? Give me a nudge quickly. Right. I have a small advice to you all. For the people who have understood or little understood, you have to, you may have taken down obviously, and take a piece of paper and try to prove on your own. And if you get stuck, refer again and see whether the concepts could be proved properly. Then you'll never forget after that. Right? Take the direct code, indirect code, 2 to 4 or whatever it is, and try to get this concept. And reason out why the indirect code that you have to buy low, in an indirect code you have to buy high and sell low. I'll give a small example for indirect code, not very appropriate example, but then just to have an idea of indirectly proportionated. Say the classroom of ours or classroom that you are, or the square that you stay, that you need to color wash. Forget about the vents and the what you call these openings and the windows and the doors. Just imagine it's just a square. You employ 2 laborers, and to color wash they said they need 2 hours. To complete that, they needed 2 hours. So if you increase the number of labor by 2 laborers, the time taken for them to color wash and complete will be reduced to 1 hour. So when you increase the labor, time reduces, indirectly proportionate, like that too. Direct code is directly proportionates. Indirect code always indirectly proportionates. Right. So we will see what is premium and what's a discount. Right, premium versus discount. So, comprehensive explanation I may have given in the handout. This is only for understanding purposes, right? Right. So we'll say the customer has 1 rupee in his hand and $1 in his hand. He has 1 rupee and a $1. He go to a banker and deposit the rupees that he has, the 1 rupee, for a period. We'll say for 12 months. This particular bank pays him 10%, say 10% interest. He deposits at the same bank for the same period, 12 months. For that, he will get 1%. Right? Customer has 1 LKR, 1 USD. he makes the placement in a particular bank on the same day at the same counters, at the same branch, right? For which, for LKR he gets 10%, and for dollars he gets 1%. The catch in here, if he deposits 1 rupee, he has to deposit $1. If he has to deposit 10,000 rupees, he has to deposit $10,000. Denomination has to be the same. Fine. Now we say a particular currency yields means gets harvested, yields lesser interest rate than another currency. A particular currency yields lesser interest than another currency. The currency which yielded lesser currency, the currency that yielded lesser interest rate, has a higher premium than the other currency. Big story, right? But it's to understand. The currency that yielded lesser interest rate compared with another currency has a higher premium than the other currency. Right. So how do you put it in a nutshell to the example in here? If LKR yields only 10% and the US dollar yields only 1% for the same period, same denomination, then we say USD is at a, you are taking down, right? At a higher premium, than LKR. If USD is yielding lesser interest rate, it's at a higher premium. Or you can say alternatively, LKR is at a higher discount than USD. Both are same. Right? In this example, LKR yields 10%, USD attracts 1%. Therefore, interest rate differential not difference, differential is 9% per annum. %9 per annum. Right. Now, this particular thing you are going to write parallelly with me because we are taking up the time now. Just 20 minutes to go. Right. USD to LKR, the parity, exchange rate, I will take 150. Buying or selling, commonly I will take a rate, the mean rate of 150. That is, you need 150 LKR to buy 1 unit of US dollar. This is a trade code. The other day I could remember where it is telling you the currency which plays on the left hand side of the oblique, whatever the currency is called the base currency. Base currency. You didn't see that, no? Base currency. Other currency is called the counter currency. In some textbooks, I find this will be said as quoted currency also as well. But the counter currency is the banking term. So based in this example, USD is the base currency, LKR is the counter currency. Just remember that. Fine. Now I will try to give a different expansion on USD LKR, the same way that I did for 100 rupees, same way. So I will say $1 is equivalent to 150 times of 1 LKR. Same thing. So if the $1 deposit being deposited at the rate of 1%, you say for 12 months, did you? Or if it could be for 6 months also, then you have to divide by 2, right? What will be the yield at the end of the period? 101. Understand? Capital is 100, interest is 0.01. 1%, no? 0.1. On the same day, I deposit the 150 rupees also. That is 100 at the rate of 10%. The capital is 150. 10% of 150 is 15. 15 plus 150 is 165. In other words, 150 into 110% is 165. The same method that I had it here, right? 165. Now this on the day 1. Parity of USD to LKR is 150. This on the day 365. It's 101 to 101 to 165. So how do I write this parity now on the day 365? USD to LKR 150 has become 165, right? And here 150 means 150 upon 1, right? So 165. 1 has become 101, 1.01. Understood that part? Right. Somebody is going to tell me yes or no in the chat box quickly as possible. Yeah, I didn't get a feedback yet. So none understood the what? Yes, fine. Right. So I have a parity now. Can't see, no? I have parity now. USD to LKR 165 to 101. That is, after 365 days from USD to LKR is 150, I have developed 165, 101. I will expand this now. How do I get this 165? 150. Interest is 10%. And added the capital again. $150 into 10% is 15 plus 150 is 165. I'll do the same thing for this also. 1 into 1%. 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1%. Right. What is the capital? Now in the numerator, 150 is common. So I'll take the 150 out of the parentheses. So I get 10% here. Plus 1. Here I get 1 plus 1%. Right. I'll put in the what you call the format the way that I wanted without making harm on that. 150, 10% plus 1, I will say 1 plus 10% over 1 plus 1%. Right, same thing, huh? I wrote it a different way. Now here 150. What is 10%? 10% was 10% was the interest which yielded the LKR. What is LKR? It's the counter currency of this quote. So instead of 10, I will say interest on counter currency. So 1 plus interest on counter currency over 1 plus 1% was the interest rate which attracted the US dollar. US dollar is the base currency of this quote. So that's, I will say 1 plus interest on base currency. Right. That's another thing that I need to tell. I will rush that quickly. Usually the exchange rates are given on value dates, on different value dates. Right? Most popular, famous, and most commonly used for exam purposes are cash value, or ready for cash, you call it, Tom. The value dates could be given. Value dates could be given on exchange rates on 3 different value dates. One is the cash value. That means on the same day value being given to the seller. Example, if the customer gives a letter of authority to debit my account and credit so and so's account in India or Pakistan, so the time, the day that you debited the customer account, customer's custom account get credited on the same day. Value cash. So value cash means same day. Value term means customer gives a letter of authority for me to debit and repatriate or remit funds to customers in England. Because of time difference, I can't make the credit on the same day. I can execute the payment, but the value cannot be given by that bank on the same day. So therefore, we give a value date 1 day postponed. So value term means 1 business day. 1 business day after the event. So next one is the spot. Spot means, mustn't take the literal meaning of spontaneous. Spot means not a scar or a mark. Spot means 2 business days from the venue. That is, if a customer gives a letter of authority to the bank that he has had transacted business with an Aussie guy or a Singaporean guy, Korean guy, Chinese guy, they are more than a couple of hours ahead to us. They are advanced to us time-wise. So it's not possible for us to debit the customer's account and credit the customer today itself or tomorrow. You have to give 2 days ahead. So therefore, 2 business days be given. This is very important. You get caught for MCQs. They will ask if today is first, what is the spot value? So you have to tell 2 business days, Saturdays, Sundays cannot count. 2 business days from the event date. For all the treasury assumptions and all the work that we do for exams, for the exam level, for the syllabus, we do not consider the cash at the top. We consider the spot value only. So when I say US dollar is LKR is 150, it is understood as is the spot rate of 150. So after 365 days, 150 became 165 over 101. So therefore, it's a spot rate. Right? It's a spot rate. So therefore, I generate this formula like this. Int of 150, I will say spot. Spot. If it is 150, this is 150. If it is 170, this is 170. If it is 200, this is 200. Either way, it's a spot. So what is this? Is the USD to LKR parity, exchange rate, forward rate after 1 year. So this is how you calculate the forward rate. For 1 month forward rate, you divide by 12. Interest on counter, divide by 12. Divide by 12, divide by 12. If it is 6 months, 6 months. If it's for 1 day, divide by 365. So, spot into 1 plus interest on counter, you need to know in by heart. Spot into 1 plus interest on counter, over 1 plus interest on base will give you the spot rate. Forward rate. Forward rate. Understood? So there's a small little concept before you go. I know this is a bit heavy. You have to concentrate and look over and over again and study. I won't ask whether you can understand this. I will ask later, but it's a bit heavy. I understand. I admit, right? So this is the forward rate. I will rewrite again in here. Forward rate. According to my example, this is a 1 year forward, right? 1 year forward rate is spot 1 plus interest on counter divided by 1 plus interest on base. So if you know the rates of interest on 2 different currencies and the spot rate is given, you can calculate the forward rate for a given period. In other words, if they give 2 rates of interest of the 2 different currencies and the spot rate of the prevailing day, you can calculate obviously for the given period, you can calculate the forward rate, right? So this is the forward rate. If you subtract the spot rate from the forward rate, if you subtract the spot rate from the forward rate, you will arrive at a premium. You know what a premium now? You at a premium or discount. Premium or discount. Why does I say it's a premium or discount? Now, what you need to remember is from the forward rate, when you deduct spot rate, if you get a positive figure, it's always a premium. Right? So take it down like this. Forward minus spot. If it is spot, if it is positive, that means it's a premium. Forward rate minus spot. If it's a negative figure, then that means it's a discount. That's why I said it's premium or discount. If it's a forward selling rate, is obviously the forward selling rate will be higher than the spot rate, so therefore it's a premium. If it's a forward buying rate is obviously less than the spot buying rate today, so therefore it's a negative figure. So it's a discount. So this is how you calculate the forward rate. So with that small note, with that concept, I can't go further because there's a huge session coming in. Now you need to study this very nicely, understand, rewrite it on your own, and get the concept right. And I appreciate one or two people if he says, not just saying yes, if somebody says, did not understand whatever it is, they can drop a mail to me. Otherwise, just give me a comment. I have 2-3 minutes, and I'm waiting for you all to open up a little bit now.